Hello, my readers. I just smacked my hand, but that's perfectly okay because we're at Ramble on Rose. Now, as you can see, I'm Rose, and this is my dad. If you see me like cough or any of that, that's me being sick. Now, Dad, what's going on?
Well, we just got through the murder scene. How'd you like that murder, by the way? Yeah, a lot of blood, though, huh? All right, and now I promise you some comic relief. Are you ready for some comic relief?
No.
I want you to laugh at it whether it's funny or not, okay? It'll make it funnier.
Wait, we need a laugh track. Shoot.
Hold on. So you're going to laugh when I tell you to?
No, if they're not funny.
No, you have to laugh.
Well, I mean, I got this handy dandy laugh of audience. What's scary to me is it's 5 minutes long and 36 seconds.
Get that queued up because there is going to be some laughter here.
Probably not for me because I'm a hard target.
We're starting with scene 3. The Scottish king and the Scottish lady have gone to bed, and after murdering the king and his chamberlains. And so then this is the big scene from the porter, and we all know the porter is like the main servant who leads people around the castle. And he's comic relief. And then also you can see here where his section of dialogue is written in prose compared to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, which are in iambic verse. So it's written like a poem.
It kind of looks the same.
Yeah. No, it's written totally differently. Here, let's see. Yeah, you can see that there is the porter section.
They can't see that. They just
look. This is Macbeth. So you can see that is in verse, iambic verse, and this is in prose, which is the way that we speak and read and write today.
Huh.
Can you imagine?
Learning from Dad, the photographer.
Do you know why it was written in prose?
Why?
Because the prose was the language of the commoners. And so that they could also, whenever there was some sort of comic relief, it usually, if you may remember from either Hamlet or Romeo and Juliet, that there was usually something bawdy about what they were saying, that they were talking about somebody drinking or fooling around. And so it's that when they deal with that subject and they're making it, in a funny or implying something without directly saying it, that's when Shakespeare uses prose.
Huh.
Yeah, because they would expect that, and it actually appeals to the people in the audience because they feel because none of them are kings and queens and lords, and most of them are commoners. So it actually this porter would really appeal to them as one of the actors. So
learning from my dad.
Anyway,
we need to I wish I could put up something for a little song for him, but I don't have the time.
You don't have the time because I'm actually doing the editing.
Yeah. If I could edit, that'd be amazing. He's edited most of my videos.
Maybe one day. All right, so it starts.
I just add the suggestions.
It starts. There is a knocking from within.
What? I can't knock.
Enter a porter. Porter. And first off, you have to imagine the porter. He's probably wearing his night shirt or whatever, a long nightgown, maybe even pajama like pants or something like that with a hat, and he's carrying a
He
lamp.
probably looks like me, or my pajamas.
No, because he's an older guy, and then also he's probably got this look on his face like he's just woken up, and he's walking through the halls, and he's probably kind of staggering as he goes, because he's been up late
He's drunk.
and drinking. That's right, because that's what he says almost immediately, and then he says, "Here's a knocking indeed." Isn't that funny?
Oh. Excuse
We
me.
already did that. Here's a knocking indeed. Where's my laughter? I need laughter to
Okay,
pull
hold
this
on.
off.
Let me get.
Where's a knocking indeed? All right.
Okay.
If a man were a porter of Hell Gate, he should have old turning the key. Knock, knock. Yeah, see? It's better, right? He should have old turning the key. In other words, that he is comparing himself to the porter in hell who is bringing people.
I
Yes,
listened to Percy Jackson.
yeah, Percy Jackson. Remember, the porter was Charon. Remember Charon?
Not
He wore
that,
the
no,
he
not
wore the
that
Italian
Charon,
suits.
but
All right,
the
we
other
digress.
Charon.
We digress. You missed Percy Jackson. And,
Sorry, dudes.
all right, but anyway, yes, there is a porter in hell. Another knock. Did you knock?
I was gonna continue knocking, but I'll do it again.
One
I'm
more.
about to cough.
All right, and then he says, "Knock, knock, knock," and people will be laughing at that. Knock, knock, knock. Yeah. Who's there in the name of Beelzebub? It's funny. No.
Knocking on the door is
It's
laughter.
humor. Back to humor. In the name of Beelzebub. And of course, Beelzebub, that's enough, is another name for Satan. So, anyway. Here's a farmer that hanged him. Here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty.
I don't know what's going on with the
Yeah, where's my humor? Thank you. On the expectation of plenty. Come in time. Have napkins enow about you, and you'll sweat for another knock. Knock, knock. Who's there? In the other devil's name. Faith. Here's an equivocator. And remember, an equivocator is someone who speaks vaguely so that they won't have to reveal the truth. And this was actually, I read in the footnotes here, this was a strategy of the Jesuits who were rounded up and brought before like an inquisition by the Church of England because they were rebellious. And remember we talked about the gunpowder revolt at the very beginning where they tried to, it was just a few days ago, where Guy Fawkes, remember that guy?
Oh!
Thank you. So one of their strategies was to equivocate, which meant that they would not answer the question, they would say something completely different. And as long as they believed what they were saying was true, they actually weren't lying. It says, Faith, here's an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. So that's, yes,
Do I laugh?
could not equivocate to heaven.
Like
Thank
that,
you.
that
Yeah, a little
sounds
laugh.
sad.
We'll just say a little laugh. Because
Yeah.
what he's saying there is that they could lie on the stand, but they couldn't lie to God. Obviously God's not going to allow them to get away. Oh, come in, equivocator. Knock, knock, knock.
Whoops! We're going to the knocking noise.
You were doing so good on the
I
knocking.
am!
There's more knocking coming, so get ready.
But can't stop
All
it.
right, okay, knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Wait a minute, sorry. Knock, knock. Never a quiet. And see, people are really laughing now. You know, because he's the porter. It's his job to open the door. Um, uh, Never are quiet. What are you? But this place is too cold for hell. Because, see, they're in Scotland where it's always cold. Yeah. Thank you. I'll, I'll devil porter it no further. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. That's who he's talking about to be tortured in hell. Another knock.
Okay, we're going to the knocks again.
Anon, anon, which means hold on. And he opens the gate. Oh, we don't have that.
The door is laughter.
And then finally, like an exasperation, he says, I pray you remember the porter. Yes. Anyway, that was kind of... So, I pray you remember the porter. So he's trying to act like a humble servant when he once... You see what I'm saying? He went from being a complainer to... yeah. All right, get ready. Oh, there's not going to... there's no laughter in this next scene. So get ready. All right, no more knocking. But there will be laughter, so get queued up.
Okay.
For some major laughter. No more knocking.
I'm Xing out the knocking.
All right, Macduff.
Shoot. Wait, I meant... Okay, keep going.
All right, we're cutting that part out.
Yeah. No, we're not. We're Dad, editing Dad, don't cut it out. I messed up, but that's okay.
Macduff. So Macduff and Lennox. Do you remember who Macduff and Lennox are?
They're dudes.
They are noblemen of Scotland. So they are noblemen who serve King Duncan Donuts Krispy Kreme, who just got murdered. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So they enter. Nobody knows about the murder yet, and Macduff says, "Not there yet. Get ready with the laugh.
I'm getting ready with the laugh.
I'm promising you big laughs."
Okay.
Macduff says, "Was it so late, friend? Are you went to bed that you do lie so late?" And the porter says, "Faith, sir, we were carousing until the second cock, and drink, sir, is a great provoker of these things."
They just clapped, but I'll get to...
Oh, right, this one's the camera. Sorry. All right, we're safe. All right, Macduff. Now, Macduff's not funny.
Okay.
Macduff, what three things does drink especially provoke? So he's saying drink provokes stuff. All right, here comes some laughs. I think you'll be able to figure this out on your own about when it's funny. Marry, sir, nose painting, sleep, and urine.
That's just cringy.
Well, so nose painting. Do you know what he means by that?
No.
Well, when you drink too much, your nose gets all bright red.
Oh.
Yeah, nose painting, sleep, and urine. So that's his first big joke. All right, and then lechery, sir, it provokes and unprovokes. You know what lechery means is like some guy that's hitting on a girl. It's like, hey, baby, you'll come over to see me. You with me then? All right. Get ready for laughter.
Okay, I'm ready.
It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator with lechery. It makes him, and it mars him, and disheartens him, makes him stand to, and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him into a sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him. Perfect. All right, you can stop it.
Crowd, quiet down!
So did you catch all that? What are you saying?
No.
Yeah, it's because you were too busy hitting the button on the laugh track.
That's my job!
He's saying...
That's my job!
He's talking about that drink, that it makes people passionate, but it also makes them pass out and sleep. It makes them feel like that they're great lovers, but they actually end up not being that great, because they're drunk. And he says it makes it. Well, I'll skip that one.
Wait. You got it.
I can't explain it. No, I'll get 3 Shades of Red, but I'll explain it to you in 8 years.
I'm sorry, I had it, and it was
all right, back to serious. Macduff, I believe drink gives thee the lie last night. And the porter says...
Wait, is it about sex?
Yes, it is a reference to... That's what he's... A lie means lying in bed with a...
female woman.
Yes, a female woman.
What? I just looked back and I was like...
Yes, so that was the joke. And then the porter says, that did it, sir.
Mom already told me about this.
Okay, let's move on.
Tell me the joke.
That was it, basically, because he says giving him the lie leaves him.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm not going to bore you. Okay. And it says, I believe drink gave thee the lie last night. That it did, sir, says
we don't want YouTube demonetizing.
In the very throat on me. But I requited him for his lie, and I think being too strong for him, that he's talking about the alcohol. See, he's personifying the alcohol as
personifying.
You see what I'm saying? He's calling it he, and it says, I think being too strong for him, though he took up my legs sometimes, and yet I made a shift to cast him. And Macduff, changing the subject, says, is thy master stirring? And enter Macbeth. And this is where it gets interesting. There's no laughter. There's a dun-dun-dun, okay? It's not ready yet.
Okay.
Hold.
Okay, I'm holding it.
Enter Macbeth. And then the porter says, our knocking has awakened him. Here he comes. Lennox, good morrow, noble sir. And Macbeth, good morrow, both. And you'll notice throughout this whole scene, Macbeth only has a few words to say. He's very suspicious acting at this point.
Suspicious.
Well, what he's done is on his mind, and he knows that there's a big secret that's about to be uncovered. And so he says, Macbeth says, good morrow, both. And Macduff, is the king stirring, worthy thane? And Macbeth says, not yet. And Macduff, all right, that's pretty good. Macduff, he did command me to call timely on him. So in other words, he wanted me to come see him early this morning. I have almost slipped the hour. So he's slipped the hour. I think that means that he's almost later than he was supposed to be there. And Macbeth says, I'll bring you to him. And Macduff, I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet 'tis one. And Macbeth, the labor we delight in physics pain, this is the door. Macduff, I'll make...
I'm sorry, leave that in.
So bold to... Stop.
Oh, sorry, I was back
I'll make so bold a call, for 'tis my limited service. Exit Macduff. So Macduff goes into the room where the dead bodies are. But we don't see it, so we don't see what he sees.
Of course.
But then Lennox is out in the hallway with Macbeth, and he goes the king hence today? Which means, is the king leaving you today? And Macbeth says, he does. And then he pauses for a second, and he says, he did so appoint so. In other words, he says he knows the king has gone already. He says he does, but then he says he did appoint so. So he says he was already planning to leave. Lennox, the night has been unruly. Where we lay, our chimneys were blown down, and as they say, lamentings heard in the air. strange screams of death, and prophesying with accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events. New hatched to the wonderful, woeful time, the obscure bird clamored the lifelong night. Some say the earth was fervorous and did shake. So there's even an earthquake. So that's what you'll.
Yeah, I have to do a dun dun dun.
That's what you'll hear. If you can call up the castle, we'll start to talk about the castle soon. Is throughout this this act, they talk about how the weather changes and that there are all sorts of signs in nature that something is out of kilter. And then Macbeth answers simply, "'Twas a rough night," right? And Lennox says, "My young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow to it." Enter Macduff. Macduff is just seeing the scene. He goes, "Oh, horror, horror, horror! Tongues not, heart cannot conceive, nor name thee." So he says, it's so horrible, I can't even...
Wait, Dad, don't start saying any other lines. Just soak this in.
That does not fit with the scene. We need emotion here, okay? Just come back.
That was sad!
That was not it. No.
That was
No,
sad!
this is not. That was vaudeville type humor. And
What?
Macbeth and Lennox say, "What's the matter?" And Macduff says, "Confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke ope the Lord's anointed temple, and stole thence the life of the building." Macbeth, "What is it you say? The life?" Lennox, "Mean you his majesty?" Macduff, "Approach the chamber and destroy your sight." He says, "Come in, but cover your eyes." With a new Gorgon. You remember who the Gorgon was? The Gorgon?
No.
Medusa was one of the Gorgons.
Oh, yeah!
Yes. Destroy your sight with a new Gorgon. Do not bid me speak. See and then speak yourself. So he's saying, see it for yourself. Exit Macbeth and Lennox. "Awake, awake! Ring the alarm bell! Murder and treason! Banquo and Donalbain! Malcolm, awake! Shake off this downy sleep, death's counterfeit, and look on death itself. Up, up, and see the great Dune's image. Malcolm, Banquo, as from your graves rise up and walk the sprites to countenance this horror. Ring the bell!" Oh.
I'm sorry, there's
not enough time. So a bell rings. Just give us a ding.
ring.
Thank you. Enter Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, "What's the business that such a hideous trumpet calls to parley the sleepers of this house? Speak, speak!" Macduff, "Oh, gentle lady, 'tis not for you to hear what I can speak. The repetition in a woman's ear would murder as it fell." In other words, to tell her it would murder her ear. She was too dainty.
That was an egg. I'm sorry.
That was bad. Enter Banquo. Oh, and then Macduff says, "Oh, Banquo, Banquo, our royal master's murdered." Are you actually listening to this?
Yes, I am. I'm
keeping it up.
I am.
Lady Macbeth, "Whoa, alas!
Stupid!
What in our house?" she says. Can you imagine at this point? In our house?
Quote
And
unquote.
She's got the blood on her hands, baby.
Dang, you
And Banquo,
spy.
"Too
Get
cruel
out,
anywhere.
get out."
Dear Duff, I prithee contradict thyself and say it's not so." And enter Macbeth, Lennox, and Ross. Macbeth. Had I but died an hour before this chance, I'd have lived a blessed time, for from this instant there's nothing serious in mortality. All is but toys, renown and grace is dead, the wine of life is drawn, and mere lees is left this vault to brag of. Enter Malcolm and Donalbain, the children, remember? Donalbain, is amiss? Macbeth, you are, and do not know it. The spring, the head, the fountain of your blood is stopped. The very source of it has stopped. Macduff, your royal father is murdered. Malcolm, oh, by whom? Lennox, those of his chamber, as it seems, had done it. Their hands and faces were all badged with blood. So were their daggers, which unwiped were found upon their pillows. They stared and were distracted. No man's life was to be trusted with them. Macbeth. Oh, yet I do repent me of my fury, that I did kill them. So Macbeth said, well, I got so mad I killed them. And Macduff says, wherefore did you so? In other words, why did you kill them? Macbeth. Who can be wise, amazed, temperate, and furious, loyal and neutral in a moment? No man. The expedition of my violent love outrun the pauser reason. So in other words, he was in a rage and his reason left him. Here lay Ducan, his stop it. His silver skin, I'm going to take the computer out of here. His silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs look like a breach in nature. For ruin's wasteful entrance, there the murderers, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers unmannerly breached with gore. Who could refrain that had a heart of love, and in that heart courage to make his love known? Lady Macbeth, help me hence, ho! So she went from wanting to unsex herself, and now she's the
Sexy.
Help me hence, ho! Macduff, look to the lady. Malcolm, who says an aside. So Malcolm turns to his brother, to Donalbain, and says, why do we hold our tongues? That most may claim this argument for ours. Donalbain, what should be spoken here? Where our fate, hid in an auger hole, may rush and seize us, let's away. In other words, someone else may be after us if they kill their father. And Malcolm, not our strong sorrow until the foot of motion. So they're going to not be able to grieve for their father. They're going to have to run away. Banquo, look to the lady. Lady Macbeth is carried out. And when we have our naked frailties hid, that suffer in exposure, let us meet and question the most bloody piece of work, to know it further. Fears and scruples shake us. In the great hand of God I stand, and thence against the undivulged pretense I fight of treasonous malice. Macduff, and so do I, and all. So they're going to make sure that this treachery is never forgotten.
So basically, it's just all the crowds shocked.
Yeah, they totally bought the whole story. There was no CSI. There were no fingerprints. There was no DNA. They just totally, and nobody questioned why Macbeth killed the guards, and except for Macduff, because remember he said so. We'll find out that a little spoiler alert: Macduff turns out to be the nemesis. Yes, the nemesis of
We know
Macbeth.
your production work
All right,
deserved.
we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
All right, okay. Finally, and then Malcolm.
No more side effects for me. No more shots.
Malcolm, what will you do? Let's not consort with them to show an unfelt sorrow in an office which the false man does easy. I'll to England, so he's going to England to get away. Donald Bain, to Ireland I. Our separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. Where we are, there's daggers and men's smiles. You like that? Daggers and men's smiles. And that gets... Do you like that? I mean, it's pretty cool. And it's... remember,
Not woman smiles, though.
Yeah, but you remember what the witches said at the very beginning. They said, fair is foul, and foul is fair. So daggers and smiles is really the same... speaking to the same thing. The near in blood, the near bloody. It does, if you think it. Yeah, a smile is something nice, but a dagger hidden in a smile is obviously something evil. So it says the near in blood, the near are bloody. So if there's blood around, we don't need to be near it because we could end up bloody ourselves.
And
Malcolm,
then that would be bad.
Yes. Malcolm, this murderous shaft that shot.
Oh, jeez, Dad, we need to stop. It's already been 30 minutes.
I know, we're at the end of the scene. If you'll just let me finish to the end of the scene.
But, I mean, our time limit is usually like 30, 33.
I have literally 4 lines to read.
Okay, read them quickly, man.
So Malcolm, in conclusion, turns to his brother and says, this murderous shaft that shot. So he's talking about like an arrow shaft. This murderous shaft that shot hath not lighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. So
avoid the
aim. So in other words, it's almost like they've got a sniper taking a bead on them. They don't know.
It's not snipers.
So they didn't have snipers
back
then. Okay, but they did have arrows that could. Somebody was in a tree. You see what I'm saying? It could take you out.
Like, hold up.
So
it's not like this where it's like, if you could see me, like pretend I'm in a tree.
Yes. You're not gonna hit me, are you?
Huh? No, I don't have any bullets.
Okay, good.
But I do have bullets in this.
Alright.
Oh shoot, never mind.
Alright, come on. We need to take this
I'm
out.
coming. I'm sorry. Now I'm the time waster. What do you do?
The murderous shaft that shot hath not yet lighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. Therefore, to horse!
To horse!
To horse!
He's so white. Hold on.
And yet,
there we go.
They need 2 horses, okay?
Oh.
Right? It's 2 of them, so we need both horses. To horse! And let us not be dainty and leave-taking, but shift away. There's warrant in that theft which steals itself when there's no mercy left. Exeunt Malcolm and Donald Bain. Alright, so that ends up scene 3. We're at our time limit. Is there anything else? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, Rosalie, take us out.
We don't have any outro music, so I'm just going to say this really quickly. Or maybe just for the laugh track.
Yeah, laugh track.
Make sure to like, share, subscribe with your friends. Well, that didn't make sense. Subscribe. I'm sorry.
You want to re-record it? We'll re-record it. And here we go to scene 4. Enter Ross with an old man. Old man. 70 I can remember well. Within the volume of which time I have seen hours dreadful and things strange, but this sore night hath trifled former knowing. So it's worse than he can ever remember it. Remember, we mentioned that the whole countryside is changed after the murder. Ross says, "Ha, good father, thou seest the heavens as troubled with man's act." Get it? I mean, man's act like murder. Threatens his bloody stage. By the clock 'tis day, and yet dark night strangles the traveling lamp. Is it night predominance or the day's shame? The darkness that does the face of earth entomb, while living light should kiss it. So it's dark during the day.
Wait, we need to pause this. Hold up.
Okay, so that wraps up scene 3. So was it as funny as you expected it to be?
Actually, yes. It was not funny at all. You could go back in the video and
How
see.
about that body humor about all the drinking and carousing and stuff like that? Was that made you feel?
Woo stuff. Yeah.
All right, time to take us out.
All right. Can't always get what you want. Okay. Click the like, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you don't have friends, comment down below and say hi. We'll say hey bye. Alright, goodbye! I have to dance. Demonstration. Yes, my session of abuse. And we're gonna win our association. And we don't gonna go to the blues. You can't always get what you want. You can't
like
always
posters.
get
You can't always get all the
what you want.
posters.
Yeah.
But you get what you need.
I need more posters! Sometimes you just might find you get more posters!
You get what you need.
I need posters and a new mattress.
Alright, I'm doing it. I'm going in for the kill.
Bye!